Imagine waiting for freedom that was already yours. Imagine living as an enslaved person, working the same fields, enduring the same chains, while somewhere far away, a document had already declared you free. That was the reality for hundreds of thousands of Black Americans in Texas on June 19, 1865, a date that would eventually become one of the most powerful symbols of liberation in American history. A date now known as Juneteenth. To truly understand the weight of Juneteenth, you have to go back to January 1st, 1863. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all enslaved people in Confederate states were legally free. But freedom on paper and freedom in reality are two very different things. The Confederate state of Texas was geographically isolated, deep in the South, far from the reach of Union forces. Enslavers in Texas deliberately withheld the news. Some historians suggest that a messenger carrying the proclamation was even murdered before he could deliver it. Others believe enslavers simply refused to release their labor force until they were physically forced to do so. Whatever the reason, 2.5 years passed. 2.5 years of continued bondage after legal emancipation had already been declared. On June 19, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with approximately 2,000 federal troops. He stood before the people of Texas and read General Order No. 3. The words were simple but earth-shattering. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. For the enslaved people of Texas, this was the moment their chains, both physical and legal, were finally broken. The reactions were immediate and overwhelming. People wept, people shouted, people ran. Families who had been torn apart began searching desperately for one another. It was a moment of pure, uncontainable human emotion. Within a year, the first official Juneteenth celebrations began taking shape in Texas. Freed Black communities gathered together to pray, sing, eat, and reflect. They wore their finest clothes as an act of dignity and defiance. They read the Emancipation Proclamation aloud, ensuring that every ear heard the words that had been stolen from them for so long. They played music, danced, and told stories. These gatherings were not just celebrations. They were acts of resistance. They were declarations that Black joy, Black community, and Black identity would survive everything that had tried to destroy them. For decades, Juneteenth remained primarily a Texas tradition, celebrated quietly within Black communities, while much of America ignored it entirely. During the Great Migration, as Black Americans moved northward and westward in search of opportunity and safety, they carried Juneteenth with them. The holiday traveled in suitcases and in stories passed between generations. It survived periods of suppression, periods of indifference, and periods when it nearly faded from public consciousness altogether. The civil rights movement of the 1960s breathed new life into Juneteenth, reconnecting younger generations to the deeper roots of their history and struggle. Texas officially recognized it as a state holiday in 1980, but national recognition was still decades away. On June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law, making it an official federal holiday. It was a moment that felt both long overdue and deeply significant. But Juneteenth is far more than a day off work or a government designation. It is a living, breathing reminder that freedom is not always delivered when it is promised. It is a celebration of resilience, of community, of the unbreakable human spirit. It is a call to examine history honestly, to acknowledge the gaps between ideals and reality, and to keep pushing toward a more just world. Every June 19th, the story of those people in Galveston echoes forward through time, reminding us that the fight for true freedom is always worth continuing.